strike on it, forces Calendar into a save down to his left. Big save there. Josef Martinez from 25 yards on, tries the curl. Negri trying to flick it through, and it comes to the back post, and it's a debut goal for Serhii Krivtsov. Hits it off the post. Borgelin saved off the left. Borgelin again has scored. Gives Miami the comfortable lead.
The Inter Miami march towards the playoffs rolls on as Miami get a 3-2 win over Sporting Kansas City during the international period with 9 players away, including Lionel Messi. What a result for the Herons to beat SKC on Saturday night. And now they roll towards another 3-match week, but with all the returning internationals in tows. Welcome you into another edition of the Inter Miami Show. Chris Whittingham alongside Kieran Gibbs, the former England, Arsenal, West Brom, and Inter Miami defender. And Kieran, lots to get to in this week's edition of the show. We'll get to how those Inter Miami players got on during the international period, a couple of new signings into the first team as well, and look forward to that next week for the club. But Kieran Gibbs, the most important thing for Miami right now is another win. You're trying to chase up towards the playoffs. You give yourself a little bit of margin for error by winning a game without so many key pieces.
Absolutely. This was a massive win, Chris. You know, you can't help but feel really proud, actually, of the players that played the other night. I felt like they really stepped up. It's really difficult when you haven't played so many minutes, and to have, 3 or 4 players come into the side at once, that's not an easy thing to grind out that win. So they will have taken a whole lot of belief from that, and psychologically, that's massive for the squad in general coming into the run-in. So it's really fascinating to see how this is playing out, and we're all rooting for them to make that push for the playoffs, and they're doing themselves no harm.
Now let's show you the exciting win that came at Drive Pink Stadium on Saturday night as we get into the highlights here. Inter Miami taking on Sporting Kansas City. The one caveat in coming into this game was that Kansas City weren't really without any players during the international break. They named an unchanged team week over week from their game against St. Louis, and yet Miami were plenty competitive in this one, but they would get the scoring started. Here, Felipe Gutierrez testing Drake Calendar from long distance, Daniel Shalhoub following in the rebound, and Kansas City would get the early lead, and you might have wondered, well, can Miami climb back into it? But after a penalty given against Leo Campana, he steps up, puts it in the bottom corner beyond Tim Melia, who's very good at saving penalties. And latter stages of the first half, Inter Miami would break forward and eventually take the lead. DeAndre Yedlin cutting inside of Daniel Shalhoub, then cutting outside of Daniel Shalhoub, getting to the byline and standing up the cross to the back post, and Leo Campana getting his second on the night. A thumping header, Kieran Gibbs.
Yeah, this is brilliant wide play, Chris, from DeAndre Yedlin. So quick off the mark and really difficult to stop when he plays this aggressive and on the front foot. And then puts in a brilliant ball straight onto Campana's head. And how many times have we seen this from him? More often than not, when he gets given this kind of service, he's absolutely deadly. The timing of the jump and the athleticism to get the power behind the header, it's a trademark goal from him this season. I think that's 4 or 5 headers from him.
Yeah, fantastic finish. And then quickly taken free kick. Facundo Farias in behind and calmly dispatched beyond Tim Melia for 3-1.
Yeah, what I love about this goal, Chris, is that it's really hard to teach this. It's just pure instinct, intelligence, and great execution. I really like Farias' performance. I thought he was just so positive, and he's always looking to be a threat, even when the ball was out of play. And I thought it was just really clever play from the both of them.
Yeah, Busquets doing really well. An alert pass there out of the quickly taken free kick. Alan Pulido would make it 3-2 as Sporting Kansas City would make this a bit of a nervy ending in the final quarter of an hour. Miami would have to sweat it out, but in the end would hang on to all 3 points. The crowd celebrating at the end of a big result, a win in the push towards the playoffs. Miami now within 6 points of that final playoff spot in the MLS Eastern Conference with 2 games in hand. And Kieran, you really start to feel it. Miami could do this. Miami are going to do this?
I mean, listen, they're doing themselves no harm at all. I mean, psychologically, just this win alone will have given the boys such a big boost of confidence and belief. What I like is that you can really see how desperate they want it, and that's what's providing us with the entertainment that we're seeing in every game. They've really got a tight grip on it right now. They've got to be the most feared team in the league by far. The form that they're on is remarkable, and to be missing so many key players as well, it's just really impressive. And you can really feel the team momentum at the moment, and that's what they've got to keep hold of.
Let's have a little bit more of a word on Leo Campana as he gets the 2 goals in the game for Inter Miami, named into the team of the match day, was named player of the match day in Major League Soccer. What is his claim right now to be that regular center forward when everyone is back and fully fit?
Well, this is the thing, is that at the moment, it's just even the players that are on the fringes of the starting 11, whenever they get their chance, they're taking it. Obviously the club has made a lot of changes in the last couple of weeks, a couple of months, and I feel like it's really given the boys a rocket, and that's great for the manager. It's hard for him to select, and players are going to want minutes, especially when they're feeling confident and on form. But I feel like the team are just really doing it for the end goal. There doesn't really seem to be any individuals in the team at the moment. It seems to be like really cohesive, which is what I love the most, because every player wants to play at the moment. And so when you have that, it's up to the manager to make sure that he keeps everyone happy. And if he can do that, that's what the best managers do, to keep a squad of really talented players together. That's what will win trophies. And so if he can do that until the end of the season, they've got a real chance. They've got a real chance.
And on that subject, I do think it's worth pointing out a few of the players that have not really played very much really at all this season, never mind in recent times. You look at the starting lineup, Nico Stefanelli had played a ton in the first 2/3 of the year, but then missed 2 months with injury. He comes into the side after not having played in those 2 months, starts and goes 70 minutes. Robbie Robinson, I think, had only played 4 MLS games before this one. Comes in, does a really good job down that left wing. You had Lawson Sunderland coming off the bench, kind of helping towards that effort. Victor Ulloa came off the bench. It really seems like it's a full squad game, particularly in these games during international breaks, of which Miami will have another one.
And that's exactly what you need. During the long season, when you get to the final stretches, you need big performances at the right times from players that might not have played that much. That's what I was really impressed with the most, was the physical outputs from the players. I can tell you that when you don't play much, it's no matter how much training you do, it's really hard to get up to speed with a competitive game. There's nothing that replicates the real deal. And so for them players to come in, especially when there's 3, 4, 5 players in a team at once, to deliver like that is really impressive, especially in these conditions. I'm super impressed with the team right now.
Yeah, and so many of the players right now are featuring in these huge games as Miami push towards the playoffs. It's another 3-match week coming up. There will be some rotation in that period, so Miami continuing to get results. But let's talk about the players that have been away during the international break and what they've been getting up to over the course of their travels. You see Diego Gomez there playing 66 minutes, starting for Paraguay in their draw against Peru. Did pick up a bit of a knock, but is what we hope will be back soon. Robert Taylor with Finland getting a couple of substitute appearances. Very impressive, and particularly with the way that he started that Leagues Cup, was definitely going to get a shout. Venezuela and Josef Martinez came off the bench in their first qualifier against Colombia, then started in their second qualifier. So Josef Martinez getting some minutes for El Vino Tinto. Then Ukraine and Sergei Krivtsov coming off the bench in the 1-1 draw against England in Euros qualifying, and then starting their second qualifier against Italy, a 2-1 defeat at San Siro. And then Benjamin Kremaski, his first time with the United States men's national team. Drake Callender has been with him before and is featured in that squad. Lionel Messi scoring that amazing free kick goal. How can you not lead with Lionel Messi? 89 minutes in that game against Ecuador. Did not feature in their game against Bolivia, which could be a very positive sign for Inter Miami, as that's 11,000 feet of elevation. Don't necessarily want to get a player coming back from that. Then David Ruiz was on the bench in their 1-0 loss against Jamaica for Honduras. And then for the Dominican Republic, Edison Ascona coming off the bench in their CONCACAF Nations League match. We just read through 9 internationals that are in this Inter Miami team that didn't play in the last game. Miami still won, and then they get them back. As you look ahead now to Inter Miami's game against Atlanta United at the weekend, you get all those guys back, and now Tata Martino has genuine selection concerns, because a lot of those guys that featured last weekend played very well, but at the same time, you get players coming back from international, they might be tired. There's some difficult selections to make.
There is, and I think the biggest thing for Tata, most importantly, was that everyone comes back healthy for this final run-in. So as long as he has that, he'll be happy. The rest he'll have to sort out as the week goes on. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult selection with everyone just on fine form right now.
Yeah, and you have Toto Aviles coming through. He started again at the weekend. Facundo Faria. Some of the new signings are fully integrating themselves into this Miami team, just adding to the depth available to Tata Martino. And there's 2 new players that have signed first-team deals since we last spoke. Lawson Sunderland getting a first-team deal, and Santiago Morales, 16 years of age, getting a homegrown contract out of the Inter Miami Academy. If you recognize the last name, it is because he is indeed the son of Inter Miami assistant coach Javi Morales. It's really impressive. And 2 more players that came through the Inter Miami system that played for the MLS Next Pro side that have featured in the Inter Miami Academy previously, in Morales' case, getting their chance to earn some minutes with the first team. And are we on to now 8 or 9 players that have come through the system that are now in this squad and could potentially feature for Tata Martino? It's incredibly impressive for a club so young, Kieran.
It is, and that's been, for me, the breakthrough story of the season so far, I would say. I mean, obviously, we have the Messi and
but if you're looking at it from start to finish, no question, from the start of the year, it's been the Academy kids not only playing but impressing.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the club represents. You know, they mention it all the time. Jorge is big on the youth, and that's great for the city of Miami. I haven't seen that many players come through an academy for a long time, and it's really good signs for the club and for the state of Florida.
No question. And the area, there is always an incredibly prosperous catchment area to be found here in Miami, and now Inter Miami are taking advantage of it. Now, Miami, looking ahead to this next week, away at Atlanta United. That'll be a fun one. That'll be the upper tier open in the NFL stadium in Atlanta. Could potentially be another MLS record crowd coming in for that one, as when they open that upper tier, Atlanta tend to set attendance records. Could be an amazing night in Atlanta. Then returning here to Drive Pink Stadium on a Wednesday night to take on Toronto FC before another trip. We have a derby next weekend, Orlando City, away from home on a Sunday night. So 3 matches in a week. We'll break it all down for you next week when we come back with the Inter Miami show, potentially from a very exciting location. More on that soon. But for our tremendous production team, for Kieran Gibbs and myself, Chris Whittingham, it's goodbye for now.